Tipping has always been a controversial subject here in the United States. Whether it be how much should I tip or how do I know when to tip, tipping has always raised questions. With some individuals opting out of tipping waitstaff in general, it has raised the question, should tipping be mandatory? Tipping should not be made mandatory in the United States because service employees should just be paid like the rest of the staff, and gratuity should be included in the price. Tipping does not benefit the employees or the customers. So why do we have a tipping system in place? Tipping was created in the first place because owners do not want to pay for their own workers. Instead, owners let the customers pay for their employees. This is evident when you're considering the tipping minimum wage. According to Blakely Gray, tipping minimum wage allows owners in the United States to pay their employees that get tipped a different minimum wage. The tipped minimum wage is $2.13. This diagram of the United States shows you how many states go by the tipped minimum wage. All the states in blue pay their tipped employees $2.13 an hour. The states in light blue pay their employees more than $2.13 an hour, but they pay their tipped employees less than they pay the normal minimum wage. And then the states in a very light gray pay their tipped employees the same as they pay their other employees with the universal minimum wage. As you can see, we are one of only 7 states that pay our tipped employees the same minimum wage as everybody else. Now, it's important to note that it would not be financially devastating for businesses to begin paying their employees the universal minimum wage. According to Pinkham, paying tipped workers would not and does not hit restaurants' bottom line in a way that even remotely approaches cost prohibition. Tipping minimum wage is a problem because tipping is not required by law, meaning that some people just don't do it. This is devastating for all of those servers that only make $2.13 an hour. These people rely on tips because tips make up the majority of their income. Because tips aren't required, employees that rely on tips have no idea whether or not they're going to be able to make enough money to meet their needs that month. Another reason tipping should not be required is because it is an unreliable source of income. Recent months have especially showed us why tipping is so unreliable. According to Sarah Andrea, COVID-19 is hitting service workers hard. Without guests being able to dine in a restaurant at full capacity, waitstaff that are paid the tipping minimum wage of $2.13 are making significantly less than what they're used to. Lastly, the United States is the only country where servers depend on tips for their majority of their income. Other countries do not require tips because they pay their servers appropriately. Tipping as we know it in the United States is not found really in any other country. Most countries do not expect a tip over 5%, and some countries do not expect a tip at all. This is because workers are paid well and they don't have to rely on tips to make ends meet. In Switzerland, workers are paid well and do not expect to make any tips unless they are serving American tourists. In Denmark, waitstaff don't expect tips because they are paid well and have benefits. And in some countries, they do not even welcome tips. Countries like Japan and China see tipping as rude. This is because gratuity is already into the price, so tipping is not very necessary. If tipping is so uncommon across the world, then why do we do it? According to Dave Infante from The Thrillist, some people believe that America should keep the tipping system because it promotes entrepreneurship. This is because the American dream revolves around entrepreneurship. In an expose on Jezebel, Pinkham wrote that Americans are taught that the reason we're the greatest country in the history of humanity is because anyone can make it here if they try. But tipping actually does not promote entrepreneurship because most people only tip because they feel like they have to tip. Entrepreneurship is all about rewarding someone because they stand out and they do their job better than other people. Tipping would be made truly rewarding if all employees made minimum wage and gratuity was included in the price. This is because customers would not feel like they have to tip, and they would only tip when they experience exceptional service. If tipping was not necessary for people's livelihoods, the only people that would get tipped would be those that give exceptional service. Some also believe that states should keep the tipping system as it is because getting rid of it will raise prices. Although prices may raise on a menu, it will not actually make a difference when it comes to how much a guest pays. A 10% tip at the end of a bill and adding 10% gratuity on each menu item will not make a difference in price. And having gratuity already accounted for on a menu is much more convenient. There will be no more quick math applications after dinner just to know how much you should tip. So in conclusion, tipping should not be made mandatory, and instead, all service employees that receive tips should make the normal minimum wage here in the United States. On top of that, gratuity should be reflected in the price. It would be much more convenient to know exactly how much you are paying when you look at the menu.